Hello everyone, so this week we're gonna practice the cycle of water. For this we're gonna look to some verbs that we can use for our presentation, and remember to make introduction to make an introduction, and we will find out some verbs that could be useful. First we have here
freeze,
freeze,
float,
float,
evaporate,
evaporate,
drip,
drip,
shower,
shower,
sink,
sink,
rain,
rain. As you can see, these verbs are related to water. Now we will move forward. And for this presentation, we will use conditionals as well. And this is a scientific fact. So we're going to use a conditional type 0. So I strongly suggest you look to the conditional 0. That's our main grammar for this activity. As you can see, they start with if, and we use the present simple in both clauses. The present simple, yes, the present simple is like the one that we use. He plays soccer, I play soccer, etc. So we have here the same verbs that were mentioned before, and we will look here the examples. If a person has no food for a month, they live. But if they have no water for a week, they don't. If you put 1 gallon of gasoline in a lake, it poisons 75,000 gallons of water. If you let the faucet drip, you waste 38 liters per day. And now, continue here. If you shower for 10 minutes, you use almost 100 gallons of water. If you remove all the water from a human brain, it is 90% smaller. If you put an ice cube in a glass of water, it doesn't sink, it floats. As you can see, the verbs in each of the sentences, we have the main clause and, well, the cause effect. All right, we have it here. We need to identify the verb has no, so this is the if clause. They live. But if this is like a contrast word. If there's another clause, actually, if they have no water, they don't. This is a question. Well, as you see, in both of the clauses, we use the present simple tense. Now to continue to the explanation, the conditional type 0 is basically this if clause and main clause, no? So if or when you heat water, it boils. Used to express a general true or scientific fact, in this type conditional we can use when instead of if. We can use when. So only in this. When the if clause precedes the main clause, we use a comma to separate two clauses, compare. So remember that when we use clauses, we separate it by commas, okay? But when we start with an if clause, it needs to be separated by a comma. If we start with the result or the main clause, it's not necessary. So it means like the if it's at the end. Well, just to refresh your mind, here we have an exercise that's easy to do. Um, we can pause the video in this section, and then you can try to do it like for practicing this tense, no, which is really simple. You need to locate the subject all the time. So as you see, if you, so if you, that's you, it's a singular. So you just put like a bird, no he. We're gonna focus on one that's like third person singular. You know that it's for singular, but it's third person, which means that we need to add the letter s at the end, no? And then we have this. This is just to refresh your mind of the tense, no? When we talk about the third person singular, okay? It's only for singular. For the plural and the rest of the singular ones, it's not necessary adding nothing. And it happens exactly the same when we use the auxiliary don't and does. Okay, you have doesn't. Why does? Because there's another rule. But you have already seen this. So be careful when you use the negatives, okay? And then the verb that precedes needs to be like in the base form, okay? This is just like a small review. If river water moves, if river water, so we were talking about the river water moves, then it makes valleys in the earth. If you, look this one, it's a negative, don't water, the auxiliary, the verb water, it's a verb too, it's an action. You know the water is a noun, no, it's the liquid, the thing that you drink to hydrate your body. It, we have, this is a, it could sound like tricky, but you just say like dies. It dies within days. If we cool, this is a plural, we don't add nothing. And it freezes. Freezes. Yes, we need to add something there. We have another couple of examples.
If water freezes, it becomes ice. When water freezes, it becomes ice.
Sorry for the echo. I forgot to turn off my microphone. Well, this was like a reminder of the use of the conditional type 0. We use it to express scientific facts. Okay? Now, here there's like a brief explanation of the water cycle. This is an exercise. So, in this picture, you can see how the water cycle is like presented. So for your class, you have here some vocabulary which could be like useful, like the rain, sun, clouds, the ocean, lake, the ground, okay? And then we have here vapor and some of the verbs that we require is like, well, this is it rains, no, it's actually a verb too. Um, it evaporates, okay? So we're gonna talk about and normally use the pronoun it. Why it? Because we were talking about something. It's not a person. It's I don't know, the water, the rain, etc. So we use often this pronoun it. You will be requested to explain the water cycle. So for this is like a little introduction. Then here we have an example, but using conditions. So as we practiced previously, if we go right here, you have the blanks. When the sun, remember the verb to be, it's an irregular verb. You say when the sun is out. It, okay, hit, singular. It, hits. The water in the oceans, when the sun heats the water in the oceans, there is or there's vapor. When vapor rises, look to these verbs. These verbs are important to express the water cycle. Into the air, it forms clouds. When water droplets in clouds, here, should we use get or gets? So thinking your answer, we have clouds, okay? So is it correct to say clouds gets or clouds get? Well, if you thought that was get, that's correct. But if you thought that was gets, it's not correct because this is a plural one. We have clouds, 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 clouds. So get too heavy. And then it rain or rains. Rain or rains. So you thought rain, in this case, it's wrong. So we need to use rains because it's singular. When it rains, the water, okay, the water it's runs or run. So you thought that the answer was run. That's not correct because it's a singular noun. Now we will have an example of the water cycle. Use the picture to locate the next procedure. We're gonna listen to the next recording about the water cycle. So here we go.
When the sun is out, it heats the water in the oceans. When the sun heats the water, there is vapor. When vapor rises into the air, it forms clouds. When the water droplets in the clouds get too heavy, it rains. When it rains, the water runs off the ground into rivers.
Maybe it was quite fast, but you can reproduce it as many times you need. Okay, so here we have the script. So when the sun is out, it hits the water in the oceans. When the sun hits the water, there is vapor. When the vapor rises into the air, it forms clouds. When the water droplets in the clouds get too heavy, it rains. When it rains, the water runs off the ground into rivers. So that's the water cycle. Now we will combine for this video introduction, we will add other videos to explain a little bit deeper the explanation of the water cycle. For this, you can use other sources. So these were basically the verbs that you need. We're gonna use a simple present, and well, here we go. Yep. Basically, those are the verbs that we need. And well, that's it, guys. This is an example of how to explain the water cycle. So, see you later. Have a good day.